Tonight we lift our eyes to the constellation Pegasus, slowly, without effort, as if the day has already drifted far behind us, and only the soft dark night remains ahead. Below, the houses grow quiet, the forests become still. The lakes darken and begin to hold the first reflections of the stars. The mountains rest along the horizon as deep blue shadows, and above all of this, high in the sky, a great square of stars begins to appear. It is called the Great Square of Pegasus. It is not like a sudden flash. It does not ask for attention. It simply opens in the darkness, like a quiet doorway into the sky. Long ago, people looked at these stars and saw a winged horse, white, free, born not only from the earth but from clouds, sea, wind, and light. His name was Pegasus. Pegasus is a constellation of flight, a constellation of inspiration, a constellation of the quiet dream that the soul can become lighter, that even after a long and heavy day, we can rise above our worries, above our thoughts, above everything that keeps us too close to the ground, and for a little while we can drift in the night air, slowly, peacefully, beneath the stars. In Greek mythology, Pegasus was no ordinary horse. He belonged not only to the land, there was something of the sea in him, something of the clouds, something of the old mystery of the world. And his story begins in one of the oldest and strangest myths of Greece, the story of Perseus and Medusa. This part of the myth is often told with fear and violence, but tonight we will tell it gently, because in a sleep story, even ancient darkness can become the beginning of light. Even after fear, beauty may appear. Even from old pain, something pure and free may be born. According to the myth, when Perseus defeated Medusa, Pegasus came into the world. He rose from Medusa's blood and from the foam of the sea, but he did not appear as a monster. He did not appear as a weapon. He appeared as a wonder, a white winged horse, born beside the sea, between earth and sky. His mane was pale like mist above water. His wings were wide like clouds, and when he first rose into the air, the world seemed to grow quiet for a moment. Pegasus belonged to no one. He was too free. He could touch the ground with his hooves, but his heart was already in the sky. For a long time, Pegasus appeared and disappeared like a dream. People heard stories about him. Heroes longed to see him. Poets spoke of him softly, but Pegasus could not be captured by force. A winged horse cannot be made to serve. He can only be approached with patience. And one day, a young hero named Bellerophon tried to do just that. Bellerophon had heard that Pegasus came to drink at the spring of Pyrene, a place of cool, clear water, a place where the stones near the bank were dark with moisture, a place where, in the morning, a light mist rose above the surface. Bellerophon wanted to ride Pegasus, but he knew that ordinary strength would not be enough. Pegasus was not only a creature of the earth, he was connected with the gods. So Bellerophon went to the temple of Athena. He did not shout. He did not demand. He did not try to seize the sky by force. He lay down in the sacred place, and he slept. In his dream, Athena came to him, the goddess of wisdom. She did not speak loudly. She did not arrive like a storm. In the dream, she was calm and clear, like a morning star, and she gave Bellerophon a golden bridle, thin, shining, almost heavenly. It was not a gift of power, it was a gift of trust. When Bellerophon woke, the morning was still quiet. The sky had only begun to brighten, and beside him there truly lay the golden bridle. He took it in his hands and went to the spring of Piraean. There, by the water, Pegasus was standing. The white-winged horse had lowered his head to drink. The water trembled softly near his lips. His wings were folded. His body glowed in the first pale light of morning. Bellerophon approached slowly. He did not rush. He did not frighten the horse. He made no sudden movement. He came as one approaches something sacred, and Pegasus allowed him to come near. The golden bridle touched the winged horse, and in that moment there was an agreement between human and heavenly creature. Not complete obedience, not victory, but agreement. Pegasus allowed Bellerophon to climb onto his back, and when the horse opened his wings, the earth beneath them began to fall away. First they rose above the spring, then above the trees, then above the hills. The air became colder and clearer. The houses below grew smaller. The rivers became thin silver threads. And for the first time, Bellerophon saw the world as the sky might see it, from above, calmer, wider, farther away. But Bellerophon's path was not only a flight. In the myths, he had to face the Chimera. The Chimera was an ancient creature that people feared. In the old stories, it was part lion, part goat, part serpent, and fire came from its mouth. But we do not need to linger in fear. What matters is this: Bellerophon did not face the impossible by strength alone. He faced it because Pegasus carried him upward. Pegasus lifted him above the fire, above the smoke, above the danger. From the ground, the Chimera seemed like chaos, but from the air, Bellerophon could see more clearly. And there, among wind and light, with Pegasus beneath him, he completed the task that had been given to him. So Pegasus became the companion of a hero. But in old myths, heroes almost always meet a test, more difficult than battle. The test of pride. Bellerophon became famous. He had flown on Pegasus. He had done what others could not do. People spoke his name. And slowly, in his heart, a dangerous desire began to grow. He did not want only to fly high. He wanted to fly higher than any mortal should. He wanted to reach Olympus itself, the home of the gods. Pegasus rose into the sky once more. But this flight was different. It was not as light, not as pure. There was too much human pride in it. The myth says that the gods stopped Bellerophon. He fell back to earth and never returned to his former glory. But Pegasus continued upward, without the hero, without a rider, free. He rose toward the stars, and there he remained. This part of the story may sound sad, but it carries a quiet wisdom. Pegasus was not punished. Pegasus did not lose his purity. He simply returned to where he belonged, to the sky, and the human hero was left with a lesson. Not every flight must rise above everyone else. Not every dream must become pride. Sometimes the most beautiful thing about flight is not height, but lightness, peace, balance, the ability to rise above fear without forgetting the earth. There is another legend about Pegasus, a quieter one. It is not about battle. It is about poetry, the Muses, water, and inspiration. On Mount Helicon, the Muses were said to dwell. They were the goddesses of art, song, memory, and inspiration. The mountain was sacred. People believed that music lived there, the kind of music that could only be heard by the heart. One day Pegasus came to Helicon, and he struck the stone with his hoof. From the rock, a spring began to flow. It was called Hippocrene, the spring of the horse, the spring of Pegasus. People believed that whoever drank from its water might receive inspiration. not loud inspiration, not a sudden blaze, but something quiet and deep, the kind that comes when a person stops hurrying, when the night becomes soft, when thoughts stop pushing against one another, when somewhere inside, clear water begins to flow. Imagine that spring under moonlight, the stones dark and cool, the grass leaning toward the water, stars reflected in the small ripples, and somewhere nearby, Pegasus standing quietly, not as a creature of battle, not as a horse for conquest, but as a guardian of inspiration. He struck the earth with his hoof, and from hard stone, water appeared. Sometimes the human heart is like that too. It may feel tired, dry, heavy, but then silence comes, night comes, slow breathing comes, and somewhere deep within, a spring begins to move again. Not all at once, not loudly, but enough to make the heart feel lighter. The Greeks saw Pegasus as a winged horse, a companion of heroes, a creature of the Muses, but they were not the only people who looked at these stars. Other cultures lifted their eyes to the same part of the sky, and they told different stories. In Arabic star tradition, several bright stars of Pegasus received names that are still used in astronomy today: Markab, Sheet, Aljanib, Enif. These names come from old descriptions of the sky. Some of them were connected with the form of a horse, a saddle, a flank, a nose, parts of a heavenly body imagined among the stars. Enif is often understood as the nose, and if we look at the constellation map, we can understand how ancient observers tried to find the shape of a great celestial horse in the dark. For people who lived beneath open skies, stars were not only beautiful. They were guides, companions, quiet signs on long journeys through the night. When the sand cooled after the heat of the day, and the desert became dark and wide, travelers looked upward. The stars helped them remember direction, helped them not feel lost, helped them trust that even in great emptiness there was order. And the stars of Pegasus were part of that order. Imagine a caravan at night. The movement is slow. The sand makes almost no sound. Above, the sky is enormous. A traveler lifts his eyes and recognizes familiar stars. Their names have been passed from voice to voice, like quiet signs on a road made of light. Markab, Enif, saddle, nose, parts of a great heavenly creature. Not only a myth, but a memory of travel. In the Chinese tradition, these same stars were not called Pegasus. The Chinese sky was arranged differently. Stars were gathered into heavenly palaces, walls, mansions, and regions. Some of the stars we now place in Pegasus belong to the northern part of the sky, associated with the black tortoise of the north. This was one of the great celestial symbols. Not a winged horse, not a hero, but part of a vast cosmic order. Quiet, ancient, attentive to direction, season, the path of the moon, and the movement of time. And this is beautiful, because the same sky can become different things to different people. The Greeks saw a horse rising toward the stars. Arabic observers preserved star names and night guides for travel. Chinese astronomers saw part of a great heavenly system where every star had its place. The sky did not argue with them. The stars did not say that only one story was true. They simply shone and allowed human hearts to see what mattered to their land, their road, their season, and their dreams. For one people, Pegasus was a winged horse. For another, a guide across the night. For another, part of the northern order of heaven. And all of this happened above the same earth, above different homes, different seas, different deserts, different sleepers. There are also other images in world traditions that are not the constellation Pegasus, but remind us of the same human dream. The dream of a luminous being carrying a traveler through the night, a heavenly companion, a movement between earth and the heights above. In Islamic tradition, there is the image of Burak, a radiant creature that carries a traveler through the heavens. This is not Pegasus, and it is not the constellation Pegasus, but the feeling is close, the dream that we can be carried through darkness, that above the heaviness of earth there is light, that a path can lead not only forward, but upward. Pegasus carries this feeling too. He carries imagination. He carries inspiration. He carries the tired mind toward a place where there is more space. Not for pride, not for victory over others, but for peace. Now, after all these stories have gathered together, we can look again at the constellation. The great square of Pegasus stands in the night sky. It seems simple. 4 bright stars, a wide shape, a great space of darkness inside. But behind this simple pattern lives an entire world. There is the white horse born beside the sea. There is the spring of Piraean, where the hero met Pegasus. There is Bellerophon, sleeping at the temple of Athena. There is the golden bridle. There is the first flight above the earth. There is the task of the chimera, and the lesson of pride. There is Mount Helicon. There is the spring Hippocrene, flowing from stone. There are Arabic star names kept by night observers. There is the Chinese sky, where these same lights belonged to another order. And all of it now shines quietly. This is what constellations do. They take old stories and make them calm. On Earth, myths can be troubling. They can speak of danger, pride, loss, trials. But when a myth rises into the stars, it becomes softer. It no longer wounds in the same way. It becomes light. Pegasus no longer carries Bellerophon. He no longer flies into battle. He no longer tries to reach Olympus. He simply shines above the sleeping earth, free, quiet, distant. And perhaps this is why his story belongs so naturally to the night. Because every person sometimes wants to become lighter. Not to vanish, not to escape, but simply to rise above the weight of the day, to see our worries from higher up, to notice that they are smaller than they seemed, to feel that above all of this, there is still a sky, large, dark, and calm. Pegasus reminds us that inspiration can come from stone, that beauty can be born after darkness, that flight is most beautiful when it carries humility, that freedom is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet, like a star, like breathing, like water beginning to flow in the night. Now we can let this story become softer. Let Bellerophon remain beside the ancient spring. Let Athena leave the golden bridle in his dream. Let Pegasus drink the cool water at dawn. Let his wings open above the earth. Let Mount Helicon keep its sacred spring. Let desert travelers walk beneath familiar stars. Let the distant Chinese sky gather these lights into its ancient order. And here, in this quiet night, let only the constellation remain. The great square in the sky, the deep blue darkness, the sleeping earth, and the white-winged horse, no longer in a hurry. He flies slowly, very slowly, so slowly that his flight almost becomes rest. Below, the forests grow dark. The lakes reflect the stars. Distant houses turn off their lights one by one. The wind becomes softer. Thoughts become quieter. and everything that felt heavy today may stay below for a while. It does not need to disappear all at once. It does not need to be solved tonight. It can simply remain below, while the sky opens above, while Pegasus passes over the horizon, while night covers the world with its deep blue veil. Pegasus remains, the stars remain, the sky remains, and somewhere high above the sleeping earth, the winged horse continues his quiet path, not as a hero, not as a conqueror, but as an ancient dream of freedom, of inspiration, of soft light after darkness. He flies gently, he flies carefully, and his stars continue shining above the earth. The night grows deeper, breathing becomes slower, thoughts become softer. The great square of Pegasus rests quietly in the sky, and the winged horse continues to fly, above the sea, above the mountains, above the deserts, above the homes where people close their eyes, above every heart that needs a little peace tonight. The sky remains, the stars remain, Pegasus remains, and his quiet flight continues above the sleeping earth.